My name is Leah, and at 27 years old, my sister said I wasn't pretty enough for her wedding, so I booked a solo trip to Bali. When I shared my journey, her furious texts flooded in. I never expected my own sister to destroy my heart the way she did, but here we are. And honestly, I'm glad it happened because it resulted in the most fantastic month of my life. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. Let me tell you how Olivia, my purportedly loving elder sister, delivered me the most important lesson on self-worth I've ever received. I'm graphic designer with a mid-size marketing agency in Portland. Olivia is 30 and works in finance. We've always been close, or so I thought. Growing up, she was the perfect child, straight A's, captain of the cheerleading team, prom queen, and all that jazz. I was more of an artsy, introspective kind who preferred to spend weekends reading or sketching rather than attending parties. Don't get me wrong, I never felt horrible about it. I enjoyed who I was. Olivia proposed to her boyfriend Ryan last August. Ryan is a pleasant enough person. He works in real estate and makes a solid living. When she showed me her ring, she began gushing about her dream wedding, which was scheduled for the following July. I quickly volunteered to assist her with everything she needed, and she appeared delighted. We spent hours researching places, tasting cakes, and perusing Pinterest boards. I even volunteered to create her wedding invitations for free, which she adored. "Of course, you'll be my maid of honor," she said one evening as we were looking for wedding dresses. I can't imagine anyone else standing beside me on the most important day of my life. I was over the moon. I began arranging her bachelorette party, researching bridesmaid outfits, and creating a comprehensive list of wedding planning responsibilities. I was absolutely committed to make her day great. The first red flag should have been when she made casual remarks about my appearance. "You know, Leah, you should really try contouring. It would make your cheekbones pop." Or, "Have you considered growing your hair out? Long hair is so much more feminine." I dismissed it as pre-wedding worry. Olivia had always been image conscious, and I assumed she was simply projecting her anxieties onto those around her. Things got worse when she demanded a bridesmaid boot camp. She wanted her bridesmaids to shed 8 to 10 pounds prior to the wedding. When I told her I was content with my figure and didn't want to diet, she smiled tightly. "Leah, I just want everyone to look their best. This day has to be perfect." I should have seen the writing on the wall, but I adored my sister and wanted to support her. I vowed to eat healthier and exercise more, but I had no intention of crash dieting. The breaking point occurred in April, 3 months before her July wedding. Olivia had invited me over for what I believed would be a bridesmaid dress fitting. Instead, she seated me down on her spotless white couch with a serious attitude. "Leah, I need to talk to you about something important." "What's up?" I said, settling in with my cup of coffee. "I've been thinking a lot about the wedding party, and I've made a difficult decision." She paused, looking everywhere but at me. "I don't think you should be my maid of honor anymore." My stomach sank. "What? Why? Did I do something wrong?" "It's not about what you did. It's about, well, it's about the look I'm going for." She eventually caught my gaze, and I noticed something new in her eyes: disappointment. "My wedding photographer cost $6,000. The videographer is another $3,800. I'm spending a fortune on professional hair and makeup for everyone. This wedding is going to be featured in Portland Bride magazine." I stared at her, unsure where this was headed. "Leah, you're my sister and I love you, but you're just not bridesmaid. You don't photograph well. You've never been the glamorous type. I need my wedding party to look cohesive and polished. This wedding is going to be featured in Oregon Bride magazine." The words struck me like a physical blow. "Are you saying I'm not pretty enough to be in your wedding?" Olivia blushed, but she did not deny it. "I'm saying that this wedding is about creating a perfect day and perfect memories. I need bridesmaids who fit the aesthetic. Haley, Chloe, and Natalie all have that classic beauty look. They photograph well. They know how to do their makeup properly. They dress well." She made a vague gesture toward my clothing, which included jeans and a vintage band t-shirt. "You've always been more of a natural, artsy type." I felt unable to breathe. "Olivia, I'm your sister." "Which is exactly why you'll understand. Family supports each other, right? I still want you at the wedding. Obviously, you can sit in the front row and take pictures. Maybe you could even help coordinate things behind the scenes. You're so organized." The nonchalant savagery of it was stunning. She wanted me to be her free wedding coordinator while her beautiful friends posed with her in images that would hang in her home forever. "I need some time to think about this," I said. "Of course, I knew you'd understand. This is why you're the best sister ever." She hugged me as I departed, as if she had done me a favor. I drove home in a total daze. When I got to my flat, I stared at myself in the bathroom mirror for a while. I saw the same face I'd always seen: brown eyes, freckles on my nose, shoulder-length auburn hair, and a grin that many described as warm. I was not a model, but I never considered myself ugly. I'd had boyfriends, including my current partner, Ethan, who told me I was gorgeous every day, but unfortunately, I was not attractive enough for my own sister's wedding. That night, I called our mother. She said, "What?" Mom's voice became higher with each syllable I repeated. "She wants me to coordinate instead of being a bridesmaid because I don't fit her aesthetic." There was a prolonged pause. "Leah, honey, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. That's not the daughter I raised." "I don't know what to do, Mom." "You don't do anything. You hold your head high, and you remember that your worth isn't determined by your sister's opinion." And if I'm being honest, I think Olivia has gotten so caught up in this wedding that she's lost sight of what actually matters. After we hung up, I sat in my living room and grieved, not only for the pain, but also for the loss of the relationship I believed I had with Olivia. My sister, whom I had always adored and looked up to, had just told me that I was not worthy of standing by her on the most important day of her life. But when the tears dried, something else grew in my chest. Anger, not at Olivia, but at myself, for even considering the possibility that she was correct. I thought about how much money I had already spent on her wedding. The engagement party I threw for her and Ryan cost $400. The bridal shower I co-hosted cost $320. The bachelorette party in Vegas, which I coordinated and partially paid, cost $900. Not to mention the $220 bridesmaid outfit I'd already ordered, as well as the $500 KitchenAid mixer she'd been raving about on their registry. I summed it all up. More than $2,300 had been spent celebrating a woman who didn't think I was attractive enough to stand next to her in photos. That was when I experienced a moment of clarity. I went to my laptop and canceled the wedding gift transaction, receiving a complete refund. Then I went to Olivia's register and looked at all of the pricey items she had chosen, including luxury bedding, exquisite china, and high-end appliances. I closed the laptop without purchasing anything. Instead, I opened a new browser tab and began looking up flights to Southeast Asia. I'd always wanted to go alone, but never had the funds or confidence. So now I had the money, and Olivia had surely given me the courage. Bali looked amazing. White sand beaches, old temples, verdant rice terraces, yoga retreats, and delicious food. I could obtain a round-trip ticket and stay for 4 weeks for around $2,700, which would neatly use up all of the money I'd been saving for Olivia's wedding celebrations. That evening, I made my reservation for the trip. The next morning, I called Olivia to inform her that I had decided not to be her wedding coordinator. "What do you mean you can't help coordinate?" she was asking. "I mean I won't be available. I'll be in Bali for 4 weeks starting the Tuesday before your wedding." There was quiet. "Bali? You're going to miss my wedding for a vacation?" "Olivia, you made it very clear that my presence isn't important to you. You don't want me in your wedding party, so I decided to treat myself to something that will actually make me happy." "But you're my sister. Of course your presence is important." "Important enough to stand beside you?" Another lapse in stillness. "I thought so," I replied. "Have a beautiful wedding, Olivia. I'm sure your aesthetic will be perfect." I hung up before she could reply. The following few weeks were a blur of preparation. I obtained my visa, purchased trip gear, researched activities, and reserved accommodations. I also requested 4 weeks of vacation from my employment. Fortunately, I had been saving my days for something extraordinary, but I never anticipated it would be this. I began working out and eating better, not for Olivia's appearance, but because I wanted to feel strong and confident for my solo voyage. Ethan was quite supportive. "I'm proud of you for choosing yourself," he told you. "What Olivia said was inexcusable. You deserve so much better." My parents were torn. They understood my decision, but were concerned about the resulting family strife. I explained that while I understood their point of view, I was not going to pretend to be comfortable with Olivia's treatment just to keep the peace. Word of my Bali trip began to spread among our extended family and friends. My cousin Sophie called, indignant on my behalf. Olivia did what? Are you kidding me? Leah, you're gorgeous. And even if you weren't, you're her sister. My college buddy Brooke was even blunter when I told her the story over drinks. Olivia has always been jealous of you. You know that, right? You have this effortless natural beauty and artistic talent that she's never had. She's always had to work twice as hard for everything. The perfect grades, the perfect body, the perfect boyfriend. You just are who you are without all the effort, and it probably drives her crazy. I'd never considered it that way. Growing up, I always saw Olivia as the accomplished one, the one who had it all together. But Brooke made me think about how much pressure Olivia put on herself to be flawless in all aspects of her life. That doesn't excuse what she said, says Brooke, but it explains it. She's probably been resenting you for years, and the wedding stress just gave her an excuse to finally say what she's been thinking. That exchange made me realize Olivia's malice could have been developing for a long time. I began recalling subtle comments she'd made over the years, like how she'd politely recommend I try other cosmetic techniques or dress styles, and how she'd always presented me as her creative little sister in a tone that made it sound like a limitation rather than a strength. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, not just with Olivia, but also at myself for not detecting the pattern sooner. I'd been so focused on supporting her and sustaining our relationship that I'd overlooked all of the subtle ways she'd been weakening my confidence for years. Meanwhile, Olivia was plainly not doing well in my absence. She kept attempting to acquire information about my trip from our parents and mutual friends. Mom said Olivia had called several times to ask when I was leaving, and if I was really going through with it. She seems genuinely panicked that you won't be there, Mom observed during one of our phone chats. I think she expected you to cave and agree to coordinate after all. Well, she was wrong, I explained. I was getting a pedicure to pamper myself in preparation for my trip. I'm not changing my mind. Olivia unexpectedly showed up at my place 2 weeks before the wedding. I was in the process of packing when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door to see her standing there with red eyes and a phony grin, my stomach fell. Hi, Leah. Can we talk? I contemplated not letting her in, but curiosity took over. Sure. She sat on my couch, looking about at my open luggage and the vacation stuff scattered throughout the living room. So you're really doing this? Yes, I'm really doing this. Leah, I've been thinking about our conversation, and I realize I might have come across the wrong way. I wasn't trying to say you're not beautiful. You know I think you're beautiful. I was just stressed about the photos and the magazine feature and everything. You understand, right? I stared at her. Even now, she could not admit what she had spoken. Olivia, you told me I don't photograph well and that I'm not bridesmaid. You said you needed bridesmaids who fit your aesthetic. What exactly do you think that meant? She appeared uneasy. I just meant that the photographer has a very specific style and I wanted to make sure everyone looked cohesive in the photos. It wasn't personal. How is telling your sister she's not pretty enough to be in your wedding party not personal? I never said you weren't pretty enough. You said I don't photograph well, that I'm not glamorous, and that I don't fit your aesthetic. What's the difference? Olivia's facade began to break. The difference is that this is my wedding, my one day to have everything exactly how I want it. I'm spending a fortune on this, and I deserve to have my vision come true. And your vision doesn't include your sister. That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said. You offered to let me coordinate behind the scenes instead. You wanted me to be your free wedding planner, while your prettier friends got to be in the photos. Olivia's face reened. Fine, yes. I wanted my bridesmaids to look a certain way. Is that such a crime? It's my wedding. When she became angry enough to quit faking, the truth was out. Thank you for being honest, I answered quietly. Now, please leave. Leah, wait. I didn't mean it like that. I'm just stressed. And Olivia, you meant exactly what you said. You think your friends are prettier than me, and you didn't want me in your photos because of it. I understand completely. That's why I'm going to Bali instead of your wedding. She began crying then, real tears, not the phony ones from her entrance. You can't miss my wedding over this. You're my sister. What am I supposed to tell people when they ask where you are? Tell them I'm living my best life in paradise. This is so selfish, Leah. You're ruining my special day. I'm not ruining anything. I'm just not participating in an event where I'm not wanted. Olivia fled in a huff, slamming the door behind her. I felt nervous, but proud of myself for not giving up. An hour later, she wrote me, "I hope you realize you're breaking Mom's heart with this stunt." I dialed Mom immediately. "Olivia just left here, and now she's texting me that I'm breaking your heart. Is that true?" Mom sighed. "Oh, honey, no. I mean, I wish you girls could work this out, but I'm not heartbroken. I'm disappointed in Olivia's behavior. Honestly, your father and I talked about it, and we both think she crossed a line." She just came over and finally admitted that she thinks her friends are prettier than me, and that's why she doesn't want me in the photos. She said that when you pushed her to be honest, yes. There was a prolonged pause. "Leah, I'm so sorry. I raised her better than that." "I know you did, Mom, but she's an adult making her own choices now." The last few weeks before my trip were quiet. I completed all of my work duties, arranged for my neighbor to water my plants, and mentally prepared for my adventure. I began a travel journal, purchased a new camera, and even splurged on some stunning outfits for the trip, not to impress anyone, but to make myself feel fantastic. Ethan helped me pack the night before my departure. "I'm going to miss you so much," he remarked, as he gently folded my sundresses into my luggage. "It's only 4 weeks." "I know, but this feels like such a big moment for you, like you're becoming a new version of yourself." He was right. I could feel something shifting inside me. The old Leah, the one who would have eventually given in to Olivia's demands and shown up to plan her wedding, was gone. This new Leah was choosing herself, her happiness, and her self-worth. Olivia sent me one final text before I left for the airport. Last chance to do the right thing. I turned my phone off without responding. The flight to Bali was long but beautiful. I had never traveled alone internationally before, and every moment felt like an adventure. I talked with other passengers, read 2 entire books, and watched the sunrise from 36,000 feet above the clouds. When we landed in Denpasar, it felt like the beginning of an entirely new chapter of my life. My first Instagram post from Bali was a simple photo of my feet in the sand with the caption, "Made it to paradise. Solo adventure has officially begun." Within an hour, it had 50 likes and a dozen comments from friends who said they were living vicariously through me. The Seminyak Resort exceeded every expectation. My hotel room had a private balcony overlooking the ocean, and I spent my first evening watching the sunset, feeling immensely proud of myself for being there. The first week went by in a whirl of new experiences. Every morning, I took a sunrise yoga session on the beach, spent my afternoons reading by the pool or exploring local markets, and tried a new restaurant each night. I got a traditional Balinese massage, learned how to make authentic nasi goreng in a cooking class, and even tried my hand at surfing. But the most transformative part wasn't the activities. It was how I felt about myself. Away from Olivia's criticism and judgment, I began to see myself with new eyes. The people I met were kind and open. They often complimented me on my smile or my relaxed energy. One evening, while dining at a beachfront cafe, a woman at the next table leaned over and said, "I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you have such radiant energy. Are you celebrating something special?" "Just celebrating myself, I guess," I said with a laugh, realizing how true that sounded. "Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up. You're glowing." That conversation stayed with me. I started posting more on Instagram, pictures of temples, rice terraces, beaches, and the incredible food I was trying. Each post got more engagement than the last. Friends and acquaintances commented on how happy I looked, how peaceful, how beautiful. When I arrived in Ubud for my second week, I felt like a different person from the woman who'd boarded that plane in Portland. I was tanned, grounded, confident, and joyful in a way I hadn't felt in years. I signed up for a photography workshop and learned how to improve my travel shots. There, I met Lauren, an Australian travel blogger who quickly became a friend. One night, as we were having dinner, she looked through my Instagram and shook her head. "Your engagement is insane," she said, "and your photos are stunning. Have you ever thought of starting a travel blog?" I laughed. "I'm a graphic designer, not a writer." "You're clearly a natural. Look at these captions. They're thoughtful without being cheesy. And your eye for composition, that's rare." That conversation planted a seed. I didn't know it yet, but it would grow into something much bigger when I got home. My final week, spent on the Gili Islands, was pure magic. The sea was the clearest I'd ever seen. The beaches were pristine, and the people were warm and easy to connect with. Every night, I watched the sun melt into the horizon with a quiet sense of peace. And then came the photo. the one that would change everything. It was taken at sunset on Gili Trawangan. I was wearing a flowing white dress I'd bought at a local market. The waves lapped at my feet, and the light turned my skin golden. My hair was loose, wild from the salt air, and I looked genuinely happy. I almost didn't post it. It felt too perfect, too personal. But something inside me whispered, "Do it." So I uploaded it with a simple caption. Sometimes the best decision is choosing yourself. I didn't expect what happened next. The post exploded. Friends, colleagues, and even distant acquaintances flooded the comments. "You look radiant. This is the most beautiful I've ever seen you. Your energy is unreal. You're glowing, girl." The likes doubled, then tripled. People started sharing it to their stories, tagging friends with captions like, "This energy," and "goals." And that's when the texts started coming in, from Olivia. I had unblocked her number the day before, half out of curiosity, wondering if she would reach out on her wedding day. The first message came at 11 o'clock p.m., Bali time, about 8 o'clock a.m., back home, right after her ceremony had ended. "Really? You're posting beach photos on my wedding day?" Then another, "Do you realize how selfish you are?" Then another, "Mom and Dad are so disappointed in you." And finally, "Everyone keeps asking where you are, and I have to explain that my sister chose a vacation over my wedding." I didn't respond. I was out having dinner with a group of travelers, laughing about our worst flight experiences. I wasn't going to let her ruin that moment. But she didn't stop. The next morning, my phone buzzed again with a barrage of messages. "Your little social media stunt is embarrassing our whole family. Haley showed me your Instagram. You're really pretending to be some kind of travel influencer now? You look desperate for attention. Everyone can see what you're doing. You're trying to make me look bad on my wedding day." "This is so immature, Leah. You're 27 years old." Then came the one that made me laugh out loud. "You know what? I'm glad you weren't in my wedding. You clearly don't know how to be supportive or put family first. Ryan said his sister would never pull something like this." I took a screenshot and showed it to Lauren at breakfast. She rolled her eyes. "Your sister sounds like a piece of work," she said. "You dodged a bullet, not being in that wedding." Olivia's messages kept coming throughout the day, angrier, more desperate. She accused me of attention-seeking, of trying to sabotage her special day, of being jealous. Finally, I replied with one simple message. "Olivia, I'm sorry you're not enjoying your honeymoon. I hope when you get back, you can reflect on how we got here. I love you, but I won't accept being treated as less than. Enjoy married life." Then I blocked her number again and went swimming in the warm Bali sea. The Instagram image from Olivia's wedding day gained traction throughout my remaining week in Bali. By the time I returned home, it had received more than 520 likes and around 90 comments. Friends, coworkers, and even people I barely knew had shared it on their stories, tagging friends with words like, "This is what self-love looks like." A few travel bloggers even messaged me, asking for my itinerary and photography tips. But the best part wasn't the attention, it was how I felt. 4 weeks of solo travel had reminded me of who I was, independent of my family's opinions. I was capable, adventurous, intelligent, and yes, beautiful. Not because I met some rigid standard of perfection, but because I was finally living authentically. When I landed back in Portland, Ethan was waiting for me at the airport with a bouquet of wildflowers. "You look incredible," he said, spinning me around in his arms. "Seriously, you're glowing." "I feel incredible," I replied, and I meant it. The next night, my parents came over for dinner. Mom hugged me tightly. "I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself," she whispered. Olivia called during her honeymoon, and she sounded, well, unhinged. She wouldn't stop talking about your Instagram post instead of her own wedding. Dad sighed. "She's hurt, but what she said to you was wrong. No sister should ever make another sister feel that way." I nodded, grateful, but still processing. "She's the one who created this mess, Dad. I just chose not to live under it anymore." The full extent of the fallout that didn't hit until Olivia returned from her honeymoon. According to Mom, she'd spent half her time in Mexico doom-scrolling through social media, growing more upset as people continued commenting on my photos. When she got back, she called Mom in tears. "Leah planned this whole trip to get attention on my wedding day," she sobbed. "People are treating her like some kind of inspiration, but she abandoned her family." Mom didn't entertain it. "Olivia, she didn't abandon anyone. She took care of herself. You told her she wasn't pretty enough to stand beside you. What did you expect? I never said she wasn't pretty enough. You said she didn't fit your aesthetic. What did you think that meant? According to Mom, the call didn't end well. Olivia hung up mid-sentence, furious that no one was taking her side. 3 weeks after her return, Olivia texted me directly. It was a long message, half apology, half justification. Leah, I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened. I know you're mad, and maybe I could have handled things better, but you have to understand how much pressure I was under. The wedding cost us $75,000, and I just wanted everything to be perfect. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just making the best decision for the day. I think we both said things we didn't mean, and I'm willing to forgive you for missing my wedding if you can forgive me for what I said. I stared at the message for a long time. Even in her so-called apology, Olivia centered herself, her stress, her budget, her perfect day. She was willing to forgive me for declining to attend an event where she had told me I wasn't good enough. I called Ethan. What do you think I should do? He was quiet for a moment. What do you want to do? I want my sister back, I admitted softly. But I want the version of her who would never have said those things to me. Then maybe this is a chance to set boundaries, he said gently. See if she's capable of real change. I thought about it for a few days before replying. When I finally did, I kept my message short and calm. Olivia, I love you and I do want to have a relationship with you, but that requires you to understand why what you said was so painful. You didn't just exclude me from your wedding party. You told me I wasn't attractive enough to be in your photos. That's not wedding stress. That's how you see me. If we're going to rebuild, it needs to start with honesty and a genuine apology. Her reply came within minutes. I did apologize. I said I could have handled it better. What more do you want from me? And that was when I realized she still didn't understand. To Olivia, this had never been about cruelty. It was about standards. She truly believed she had been justified. I decided to make one final attempt to show her. I sent her a screenshot of the comments from my Bali photo, the one posted on her wedding day. These are people who know both of us. Do you still think I wasn't photogenic enough to stand beside you? She never responded. It's been 8 months since Olivia's wedding. We still see each other at family events, but only exchange polite small talk. The closeness we once had is gone, and while that makes me sad, I've accepted it. I'm no longer willing to shrink myself to make someone else comfortable. The beautiful twist is how much my life has changed since that trip. I started taking small solo weekend trips around the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Cannon Beach, Mount Hood. I launched a travel Instagram account focused on self-empowerment and solo adventures. I never expected it to gain traction, but within months, I had more than 1,500 followers, a small but genuinely supportive community. Brands started reaching out, asking me to design digital travel guides and social media posts. I was finally merging my career as a graphic designer with something I loved. Most importantly, I'd learned to trust my own reflection again. Olivia's opinion of my beauty said nothing about me. It spoke volumes about her insecurities. The hundreds of people who commented on my photos weren't lying. Ethan's admiration wasn't pity. The confidence I felt in my own skin was real. A few weeks ago, I ran into Haley, one of Olivia's bridesmaids, at a coffee shop. She froze when she saw me, then smiled awkwardly. Leah, hey, how are you? I'm great, I said, smiling. You? Good. Listen, I just wanted to say I felt really bad about what happened with the wedding. Olivia was so stressed, and I think she made some choices she probably regrets. I nodded. I hope she's happy. She is, Haley said hesitantly. But things haven't been the same. A few of us were uncomfortable with how she treated you. It kind of changed how we see her. I gave a small smile. Interesting. Haley shrugged. For what it's worth, your Bali photos were amazing. You looked so happy. I was, I said simply. I still am. And it was true. Olivia got her perfect wedding. The flawless photos, the curated memories, the pristine aesthetic she wanted. But I got something better. I found self-worth, adventure, peace. I learned that I don't need anyone's approval to feel beautiful or valued. Sometimes I wonder if Olivia ever looks at those wedding pictures, her perfect day, her matching bridesmaids, and thinks about the sister who isn't in them. Whether she regrets choosing image over love. But most days I don't think about her wedding at all. I'm too busy planning my next trip and living a life that feels beautiful, both inside and out. Because the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's living so fully that their opinion stops mattering. Olivia thought I wasn't pretty enough for her perfect day, but Bali taught me that I'm beautiful enough for my own perfect life. That's a lesson worth far more than any bridesmaid's dress.